Hello and welcome to the Blockchain and Us, where pioneers and thought leaders talk about their journey in blockchain technology, crypto assets, and the token economy. And I'm your host, Manuel Staggers. If you enjoy this podcast, please give it a top rating and review on iTunes, and feel free to follow me on Twitter at Manuel Staggers. This episode is brought to you by Descartes Finance. Descartes is the leading Swiss digital wealth manager, providing its products and services to individuals, family offices, charitable organizations, banks, and asset managers. Its investment strategies lead the way. They harness the largest know-how as only a digital investment advisor can. To learn more, please visit www.descartes-finance.com. My guest today is Zhang Ruidong. He is a professor in computer information systems at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire in the United States, and the founding director of the blockchain labs at the Academy of Internet Finance at Zhejiang University, one of the leading universities in China. His research areas include cloud computing architecture and optimization, blockchain technology applications, digital currency policy and regulations, e-commerce, and the development and application of the next generation internet. And now, to the interview. Zhang Ruidong, thanks a lot for taking time today.
My pleasure.
The Swiss consul in Shanghai introduced us recently because we both were at some point part of his Future of Finance series in China. And China has said very early on that they're not so much in favor of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and ICOs, but very much in favor of the blockchain. So how exactly does that work?
Blockchain, as we know, is a technology that enables Bitcoin. Blockchain is believed to have more application areas in different industries, in different aspects of our society. Mm-hmm. The reason that digital currency or Bitcoin or ICO is restricted in China is because people who are not well informed may make a lot of investment mistakes. Mm-hmm. And in China, a lot of people tend to think something that's new or something they believe some people told them could make them quick money, and they possibly will jump on the opportunities. Mm-hmm. I think the Chinese government is very cautious in not want a lot of people to be misled or to make investment mistakes. So protection of investors in China is also is what the Chinese government is trying to do. Then, of course, we know ICO, initial coin offering, has a lot of misleading projects. Mm-hmm. They don't have actual technology. They misuse the term of blockchain or digital currency to fool people around. That's also why government trying to, prohibit or restrict the ICOs in China. Right now, as we know globally, there are over 1,500 digital currencies. A lot of them are actually what we call tokens. Over these 1,500 tokens or cryptocurrencies, a lot of them have no, real technology behind or underlying them. So that's the key reason. Yeah.
When did that become clear in China to the government?
Actually, the ICO was started, in 2016, 2017. And then the trend in the first half of 2017 was accelerated And then after being aware of the problems or potential problems, the Chinese government issued regulations and policies in September in 2017 to prohibit ICOs to be used in China.
Okay, yeah, that was exactly the last time I was in China, and that was right then was the big news. But you know, many people I speak with, they say blockchain technology without a cryptocurrency will never work. So what do you think about it?
I think it is true to a large extent. Blockchain was initially invented and used in Bitcoin. The initial purpose of blockchain was to be used as the general ledger or distributed ledger to store the value or to allow value to be transferred globally without a central bank or central authority. But blockchain wasn't designed in the very beginning to be used for other areas. For example, for identity verification, for certificate verification, for other application areas like supply chain financing. Therefore, blockchain, has to be modified. For example, in the original Bitcoin design, you have to mine. All right, you have to solve a puzzle to earn the right to create a block and then to earn bitcoins. All right, which is called mining. But for some other applications, do we still need to use the mining process? All right, have people have a lot of computers working together to solve a puzzle, to earn the right to create a block, to earn bitcoins, or to earn other types of digital currencies. So that's the kind of like how the Bitcoin was initially designed. But with the other applications, we still need to answer a question: why people are motivated to be part of your blockchain system,
right?
To help you create blocks. So the incentive problem has to be solved for the blockchain systems. The initial Bitcoin, the incentive is you earn the right, and then you also in the same time earn bitcoins. So that's the incentive. So for other applications, then you have to answer the question how people will be motivated to, for example, upload their information to the blockchain. For example, do I want to upload my social security number? Do I want to upload my driver license to the blockchain? Why would I be motivated? So the motivation has to be has to be solved. So that's why, to a large extent, no matter it's a token or it's some form of cryptocurrency, it need to be generated in the same time the blockchain is being expanded. So that's why I think it's essential for the blockchain solutions to have an incentive system. And this incentive system can be in multiple forms. It can be, a token, digital token, or a type of a cryptocurrency. But the bottom line is that you must have something that's real, that's of real value to people, for you to issue the tokens and for other people to accept the tokens as a form of incentive or a form of payoff.
But currently in China, there are no exchanges, right? Or I mean, I thought that the exchanges were shut down.
Yes, all of the we used to have major exchanges last year. like Bitcoin China. After I think last September, October, I think all of them have moved out of China. So they have landed in places like Hong Kong, Singapore. Some of these currencies landed in USA or other places. So basically, I think the Chinese government is clear that digital currency trading is very speculative. It's not considered a normal investment behavior. That's why it were prohibited, and then this digital currency exchange moved out of China.
But can people living in China, can they still legally own cryptocurrency that they bought abroad somewhere?
Well, the channel is not blocked by, at least as of now, is not blocked by the government, or to my knowledge, is blocked by the government. So people have different ways to buy digital currencies overseas. As long as you have internet access, I think there are ways for you to buy or trade digital currencies. There might be, regulations that prohibit these channels to sell or trade digital currencies for Chinese citizens. But I haven't seen a regulation like this, published on the newspaper or on the internet. And then we have friends, we know people in China who, live in China, but they can do the digital currency trading using overseas exchanges.
Okay, so it hasn't exactly worked, the ban on cryptocurrencies then.
I think to a large extent, yes. For example, if you want to trade digital currencies overseas, then you must know the channel. You must know how to operate it. It's not a very straightforward like before. You must have certain technical skills, or you must have someone, like a middleman working for you to make this happen.
I'd like to ask a little more about the current developments that you see of maybe startups working on blockchain technology in China. What kind of projects do you see them focusing on at the moment?
There are different kinds of projects that are undertaken by Chinese startups. For example, the major areas include supply chain financing, the intellectual property protection. Some projects want to develop cross-chain platforms, so allow digital currencies or tokens to be transferred between different blockchain systems. There are also startups who want to solve problems in other areas. For example, the security exchanges, or the overnight loan between banks, the payment system between banks.
What about identity? Is there a focus on solutions like these as well?
There are, to my knowledge, there are some startups trying to, come up with some solutions in this area. We specifically to what we are doing, we are also, or my team is also in the process of trying to develop a prototype system about identity verification, and then how people can become a part of the system, be willing to or motivated to upload their identities or identity document to a blockchain system.
When you start a company like this in the blockchain field, how closely are you working with the regulatory body in China? I mean, I think in China China has its own regulator for blockchain technology, I believe. And how closely do they want to be involved with the development there?
I think to answer this question, you have to know that the area you're working with is that subject to existing regulations. For example, if the solution or the problem you're trying to solve involves borrowing money, and then it will be subject to the regulations, which is about what interest you may charge, where you want to get your license, so you can lend people money. But in some new areas like identity verification, identity document uploading to a blockchain system, these are new areas. We haven't seen any regulations which says that you cannot do this or you cannot do that. So new areas certainly, kind of like a gray area or a white area where you cannot find existing regulations that govern these areas. So these are areas, what we call are, new areas. When you develop products in these areas, maybe eventually you need to work with the government or by communicating with the regulatory bodies and then see if some new regulations can be developed. But in the beginning, we don't see any big issues in new areas where you cannot do this or you cannot do that.
Mm-hmm. Have you? I mean, we talked a little bit also about other jurisdictions before, the U.S. or Switzerland. Have you looked into starting projects in other areas outside of China as well?
No, basically outside of China, basically we are doing case studies. And then to learn elsewhere what are being developed or what are the latest development in terms of applying blockchain technologies to solve problems.
What kind of differences do you see there? From companies in China approaching the blockchain as a technology in comparison to maybe the US or Europe?
A few differences. There are a few differences. One is that Western countries like US or Switzerland, the regulatory bodies are more responsive to the latest development. For example, in Switzerland, some new regulations about SEO have been developed. So the regulation, I think, in Western countries are more responsive, or they want to quickly have regulations out. In this aspect, Chinese regulatory bodies sometimes is a little bit, conservative. They possibly want to make sure everything is safe or secure before or become a little bit more mature before regulations can come out. So this is one area of difference, which means how fast a country's regulatory bodies can respond to the latest technology development. And also, on the other hand, this is another area of difference, which is in Western countries, the technology companies focus more on the long-term or longer-term development instead of I'm trying to focus on short-term money-making opportunities, because ICO or issue digital tokens can quickly make some people get rich fast. So in this area, basically this is about the people, the entrepreneurs. Are you focusing on short term or long term? So this is also one area of different. But the Chinese entrepreneurs over the last 20, 30 years are also becoming more and more mature. So they also want to look for long-term paybacks, but there's still some you can still see some difference in this area. And another area would be the who is the role of government. In China, government is pushing the development of new blockchain technology applications aggressively.
How exactly are they doing that?
For example, in China they put this in the government kind of like the State of Union, that type of report, government report, kind of like at the policy level, they encourage government at different levels to support the creation of new innovation zones, or they create a special zone for the blockchain firms to be landed in this area, and then in the same time enjoy some tax reduction benefit or some other benefits.
You mean these special economic zones?
That's right. Special economic zones, or we call economic zones, or innovation zones.
Yes. Is there one of these or several of these zones already focusing on blockchain technology?
Yeah, in Hangzhou, there's several innovative zones that have already been created just especially for the blockchain firms to be landed in these areas. And then other places like Shanghai, like Beijing, like Shenzhen, and they also have a similar policies or similar innovative zones to encourage blockchain firms to come to their locations.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's quite unique that already at the highest policy level there is this focus on blockchain technology.
I tend to disagree with you a little bit, because there are, for any new technology, in the beginning, it's always a mix of reality and myths or imaginations. If we look at where the Bitcoin, digital currencies, or blockchains are being embraced, with some places are kind of like a little bit to our surprise. For example, Cambodia. Cambodia is creating also like a special, like what you said a little bit ago, special economic zone, all right, to encourage the digital currency or ICO firms to come to Cambodia. Venezuela, we know Venezuela has a lot of problem with their own currency. They have tons of problems with the inflation problem, but they're also trying to issue their own digital currencies backed by the oil. But
right?
Oh, yeah, petrol, yeah. So other countries, some countries in Africa, okay, they also want to see if something can be done here, right? So with cryptos, and of course, one fundamental understanding we should have is that for these countries, they like a lot of infrastructure. They also like a lot of talents in this area. So these countries, when they want to do something about digital currency or blockchain, basically they want to have their own policy to attract talents from elsewhere to come to their countries to start some blockchain or digital currency project. So I think globally, you can classify the countries maybe into two categories. The first category, like USA, like Switzerland, like other European countries, they want to see if blockchain technology can offer new solutions to some existing problems. But then we also, the second category, other countries who are speculative. They want to see, well, can I take advantage of this technology, bring some benefit to my country. So this is basically, two categories. So
Interesting point. I wasn't aware of that. I mostly look at Western countries, and there is a lot of favorable regulation for ICOs, cryptocurrencies, but there is not a push. And so that's very surprising what you just said there with these Asian countries that have on the policy level that really try to attract a lot of the companies. Have you seen entrepreneurs in China who want to be active in blockchain technology? Have you seen them leave and go to other countries where they think maybe they have better chances of success or just a better ecosystem?
Well, when we talk about blockchain, when we talk about digital currency, basically we see two categories of people. The people who are in the category of cryptocurrency, and also people who are in the category of blockchain technology. For the blockchain technology people, I think, they just want to find solutions. They want to have their new startups in mature or stable countries. But for people who are in the category of cryptocurrency, they want to go to places where there are favorable regulations or favorable tax policies. So these people, we see they go to the countries like Cambodia, Singapore, a lot. So there are two categories of people. So depending on which category of people you are talking about, we see big, kind of like all the flows of them to go to overseas. But blockchain people, I don't see them have a big reasons to move overseas.
Mm-hmm. But is there also some kind of brain drain associated to that?
Well, blockchain is new. Bitcoin has been, started in 2009. It has been around for a number of years. But in terms of developing blockchain solutions, in terms of developing blockchain systems for, to solve different problems, yes, we like people who have skills not only in the programming but also internet and other and then the specific application areas. For example, understanding how the existing banking system works, how the existing systems handle the business transactions, let alone the technologies change also very rapidly and evolving so fast. For example, a few years ago, have we heard about the programming language called Go or Solidity? No. And these are the new languages just came out just a few years ago. So it takes time to train skilled the graduate who are skillful in these new technologies to develop the new systems. Yes, so I agree with you. There is a brain drain there, a lack of talents. So basically, we have to train people, to be productive in developing these new blockchain-based solutions.
Let's take a quick break for a message from our sponsors. Descartes Finance takes tradition into the future, harnessing a combination of cutting-edge technology and personal advice in the service of your personal interests. Descartes cuts through the financial noise and focuses exclusively on scientific and evidence-based investing to give investors a better understanding of how to view the financial markets and provide them with their respective investment strategies. To learn more, please visit www.descartes-finance.com. That's DESCARTES-finance.com.
We have to train people, to be productive in developing these new blockchain-based solutions.
Mm-hmm. Are there also policies that focus on that, on the education in the blockchain field?
Well, at least in some major Chinese universities like Zhejiang University, they have started or they're going to offer their first blockchain-based classes, either at the graduate level or maybe at a kind of like a seminar class level. So there are initiatives in major universities, who have started or going to start offering classes related to blockchain technologies.
Right. I mean, in your view, do you think people overestimate what the technology can do?
Well, in the beginning, I think this is a good thing. In the beginning, we always mix reality with imaginations or mix reality with myths. So in the beginning, we trying to see or explore all kinds of opportunities. But we should really adopt an attitude which is you should be you should not have a hot head, all right, to try to mislead people, to make a speculative investment or decisions, assuming this technology is going to bring quick money to you. So I think this is a mature society. The behavior a mature society should have.
When did you originally get in touch with Bitcoin or with blockchain technology?
My initial awareness of Bitcoin, that was 2012, around 2012, 2013. And then I got a lot of involvement with blockchain. That was around 2014, 2015. Since then, we did some research in this area, case studies, and also we published a few reports in this area, and also including the research paper about central bank issued fiat digital currency.
I wanted to ask one more question about this mentality. And I mean, we have the currency use case for blockchains, as we've seen, right, with Bitcoins and all kinds of other cryptocurrencies. And then we have the information, the immutability, the censorship resistance use case. Is that later use case sometimes at odds, you think, with developments in China?
Let me use an example to try to maybe shed some light in this area. Internet has become something that we cannot live without on a daily basis. Can you shut down the internet completely? Can you see, well, I don't want our people to access internet. So this is one area which is the technology has become part of what we have. It has become an integral part of our life. You cannot separate the technology from us. When the technology becomes something like this, you want to take the technology away. You basically take part of our life away. So for the blockchain technology, when it evolves, when it becomes something like the influence or the impact that the internet is having on us, then possibly no one can completely shut down the technology from our daily life. So this is a perspective I have, and then this is I think a perspective we should have regarding the blockchain technologies. So to summarize, technology is important. Technology once become part of ourselves, and then to take it away will become an impossible thing. So when we see that blockchain allow data to be permanently stored, and then it's on a distributed system, can you shut down the system completely? And then it becomes completely impossible. So then when that happens, and then when every part of our society, has this type of technology implemented, and then the society will evolve. So this is the impact of technology on modern society. Possibly, nobody or no government, no one can prevent that from happening. Mm-hmm. So
fascinating. I mean, do you really think it will change the world?
Well, like what I said, the technology evolves. We see the huge potential, but the potential need to be tapped. Another example is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, the concept was conceived in 1950s. And then right now we see what we call the fourth wave. So we see technology goes by waves, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. 1990s with what we call wave 3. So now it's wave 4. But from 1950s to the current wave of artificial intelligence, we see more and more applications that AI or artificial intelligence or machine learning is being used. But do we see AI or machine learning is being used everywhere in our everyday life? Not yet. But do we believe artificial intelligence or machine learning have huge potential in the future, in our future? Well, I think if you ask 1%, possibly 90% of people will say yes. So about blockchain, I think right now, maybe you ask 100 people, maybe 60 or 70% will say yes, I see the huge potential. But how blockchain is going to change everything, the way we live our life, the way we do business, hard to predict it, but potential is huge. But would there be a scenario where the blockchain is going to be eventually turned out to be a huge social experimentation failure? Um, well, that possibility is still real. So let me give you another example. I don't know if you have heard about WiMAX. WiMAX 10 years ago was believed to change the way we communicate globally. So you take your cell phone or smartphone, which you bought in Switzerland, and you want to go to visit China. The moment you landed in China, WiMAX promised you you have the instant connection, wireless connection. You can make voice phone calls, you can check internet, you can basically do whatever with the internet connection, broadband wireless connection. So the promising was great, and also many people at that time, 10, 15 years ago, WiMAX is going to replace at that time what we call 2G, 2.5G, to become the 3G or 4G, right? But that never happened. And then big companies like Canadians, Northern Telecom, I don't know if you heard about this company.
Mm-hmm.
The Northern Telecom was Canadians' number one telecommunication firm. Equipment manufacturer, like China's Huawei or ZTE, these days. And then they made a strategic mistake. They bet everything on WiMAX. So they made big strategic mistakes. And then that really eventually lead to the company to go bankrupt, because when people figured out WiMAX is not going to replace 2G, 5G, it's that expectation is not going to happen.
Right. They bet
And
on the
then,
wrong horse.
yes, they bet on the horse. So you can see that lead to the Northern Telecom to go bankrupt. Also, another example is USA Sprint. Sprint is not used to be the number 2 big carrier in US, but now it's number 4, number 5. It's becoming a target of acquisition. So back to blockchain. Do you think blockchain is going to be everything? Right now, some people paint a very rosy picture about the future of blockchain, but for that to happen, a lot of hard work still need to be done. The ecosystem still need to be formed, to be created for this technology to reach or to realize its full potential. What we see right now, the potential is huge. The future society will be beautiful with the blockchain technology. But for that to happen, a lot of work, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of government regulations still need to be changed, need to be developed. Eventually, only the future will tell, where right now our bet on this technology is a great strategic bet or not. But, as of now, I do believe the future, it has a future. It has a huge future. It has huge potentials.
I mean, you mentioned WiMAX before. I think it, of course, people knew about WiMAX, but I don't think many people got extremely excited about WiMAX. And with blockchain technology, you have people who believe that this will change everything and society will be entirely different in the future because of this technology. And sure, not to belittle WiMAX, but it didn't carry that excitement, right? Like other technologies before the blockchain.
It is true. WiMAX, if you want to compare apple to apple, orange to orange, WiMAX is more like a pure technology, which doesn't have a lot of social implications. But blockchain is a technology, but it's a technology which is in many ways similar to the internet technology, has a lot of social implications. So it's kind of like, the technology become part of ourselves, that type of technology, which means we cannot go without, cannot live without. Another good example is a smartphone. This has become something, if you go anywhere, if you leave your smartphone at home, leave your smartphone somewhere, you will become upset, you will feel you are in a very bad situation. Maybe in the future, blockchain will be our new smartphone we cannot live out. I do believe this is a potential, yeah.
But what is it that makes this technology, so important? What is it exactly?
Well, the internet has created huge benefit to us. If I want to buy something, my first thought would be, I'm going to search the internet to see if I can buy this on my favorite e-commerce website. All right, if I can find this, I'm just going to make an order. I'm not going to go to the brick and mortar stores to buy it. So that's how the technology is part of our daily life. Yes,
but the reason that is this way, it's because it's convenient, it's less expensive,
yes,
it's fast,
yes,
right? And with the blockchain, I think it's still, for people working in the field, it's clear, or many people are very, very clear about its potential. But if you walk in the street and ask people what is a blockchain, I'm sure many wouldn't know.
No, because the blockchain only started a few years ago. We use blockchain to solve other social problems. Only started a few years ago, but you can imagine a few scenarios or use cases where the blockchain is essential to our future life. Let me give you a few examples. Right now, you go to a grocery store, right? You go to a grocery store, you buy some stuff, you give them the cash, all right? And then they give you the whatever you want to buy. Do they know who you are? Do they ask who you are? They don't. They just see, well, the money you give to me is a legal, currency. I'm going to accept it. So then I'm going to sell you my product to you, all right? So it's a done deal. And then when we become more and more used to the internet, what we call cyberspace, all right, we become more and more used to buying stuff in the internet, all right, communicating over internet, okay, socializing over the internet. And then we have the problems, which is we're going to lose our anonymity. Right, we're going to basically whatever we do on the internet, on the current cyberspace, we are going to leave a fingerprint or footprint, digital footprint. If someone right now we're on Skype, right? If someone want to intercept our conversation, they can. They have ways to do this. For example, do we trust this Skype is owned by Microsoft? Do we trust Microsoft? What if Microsoft is doing some reconnaissance? All right. What if Microsoft is in the back room, is monitoring our conversations?
It's possible.
Oh, it's not possible. It's definitely yes. For example, if a government want to track what we're talking about, they can certainly, do some surveillance, right? So this is a current cyberspace, a big issue, all right? So with the blockchain solution, our anonymity can be, to a large extent, can be protected using encryption, using privacy protocols. So in many ways, you can view blockchain technology as a privacy protocol. So like you give me money, I give you the product. So I don't need to know you, or you don't need to tell me your identity. So this is what one of the potentials that the blockchain technology can bring to us in the future, which means to protect our privacy. And now, as we know, privacy is one of the cornerstone foundations we have in modern society. So protect anonymity, protect our identity, allow us to make transactions, and then in these transactions, we do not want our identities to be revealed. We don't want to leave a digital footprint. And then this is one area why many people believe blockchain, is going to be important in our future life.
Mm-hmm. I often hear the argument where people say, absolutely, blockchain technology can be used to, maybe pseudonymize certain things online. But at the same time, do you really need a blockchain for many of those applications? Couldn't you also just use encryption? I mean, before you mentioned Skype. Skype at the beginning was encrypted. And then, when, I'm not sure, I think it was eBay first, and then other companies, and then Microsoft owned it slowly, that was stripped away, and now it's not encrypted anymore. So it could just be encrypted again, but you don't necessarily need blockchain technology for that.
This is a very good observation. And then we get back to the blockchain basics. Do you want to have a centralized encryption, or you want to have distributed encryption?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the argument.
Indeed. Blockchain technology essentially is an overlay technology. Overlay, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's a technology above another technology. And also, you have to have the right technical background to appreciate the potential this blockchain technology may be able to bring us. So you have to put yourself in the future, right? You have to put yourself in the future and look back and then see what can we do to put ourselves, in the future. So it's kind of like more like a catch-22 type of problem. So you put yourself in the future, say, well, I want to protect my identity. I don't want a central authority to be able to track my daily activities in the cyberspace, all right? And then you will see, well, we need to have some. Then right now we need to have some solution, technical solution to move us from current to the future. So this is a way of thinking. This is a way to justify why blockchain has some potential to move us from current to the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all very good points. I'm just wondering still, because there's nothing more centralized than a government and a nation state. And of course, if you look at all the surveillance apparatus that came out of the NSA, out of the US, that was to centralize all that information and to gather it and analyze it in one place. So it's the opposite of all the pluses that blockchain technology promises.
Yes.
I just wonder how long it will be until that really openly and overtly clashes.
Well, eventually, in many countries, there would be a lot of challenges, like the existing civil rights law, the existing government regulations, even the culture. Even the culture may need to be changed for something dramatic to happen. For example, social media. We have become so used to the social media. In China, we call that WeChat. In US, we call Facebook. We forgot that these companies are selling our information to make a profit. And then these companies are monitoring our communications. They are storing our data on their central servers. They use the data they have collected as their digital asset.
And they give a backdoor to the national security
That's the
agency.
point. That's the point. So, and then the culture, we become so used to it, we forgot this. The culture, therefore, is you want to be my friend, add me to your, social media friends circle, or add me to your social media. So that's the culture. But in the future, the culture might be changed. You want me to add to your friend circle. Do you have certain level of privacy protection so I can add myself to your friend circle? So that's the culture change. As a culture change, the society change, technology evolves, so does, a society's culture. So there, we should see, a lot of fascinating things happening in the next few years. There will be clashes. Yes, there will be possibly some government think, this should prohibit it and that should prohibit it. A lot of these things would bring us, an exciting, future to expect or to watch.
Has that ever happened to you that, maybe somebody close to the government or from the government itself said, oh, you cannot say that, or be careful here with exploring this too deeply?
Well, it's still too early. Because nobody, for example, right now saying, well, I have to maintain my identity, all right, without letting the government to know how much money I make, or without letting the government organizations to know my daily life patterns, what I do on daily basis, what's my lifestyle. So this technology is still in its early stage. If this technology is heading to that direction, then sooner or later some issues will be generated, and when that happens, we should see a lot of maybe not just the technology, but also social technology change. This is one of the interesting academic discipline which is studied socio-technical impact, socio-technical interactions. So right now the technology is too early. A lot of things is unfolding itself. We are not very clear, the consequences. We only see the potentials. And also people tend to believe when we see the potentials, we typically see the potentials from a very positive perspective. So we paint the future very rosy, but when that happens, possibly there's something we don't want. So this is a very, I think, practical attitude. So for technology, for any technology, this will be I think the right attitude we should have.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. I mean, it's really interesting to speak with you about these issues, and I'm sure there's many of the specific things that you touched upon that we could have a whole conversation about, maybe separately in the future. Zhang Ruidong, thanks a lot for taking time today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us today. More info on our guest and our sponsors is in the show notes of this episode and on the podcast website, theblockchainandus.com. To help people find this podcast, it's important that you download, subscribe, and give it a top rating and review on iTunes or on the podcast platform of your choice. I'm Manuel Staggers, and I thank you very much for listening.